Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the front line with Joe and Joe. Joe Pasillo and Joe Resinello. And once more, dear friends, let us go into the breach. Sunday night, Facebook Live, YouTube, going live right now on about 10 or 15 different platforms. So we welcome you all, and we thank you all for joining us. Remember, if you're watching on Facebook, like, subscribe, share with your friends. Also, please, on YouTube, do the same. Make sure you hit subscribe and the little bell. This way, it boosts us in the algorithm. That's what I've been told. I know nothing about this stuff, but I've been told to tell everybody, please hit like, hit subscribe, and hit the little bell. So we're happy to be here. We got a great show for you tonight. And you know, because obviously there's a lot of things to talk about. Tony Basil's joining us right now. Good evening, Tony. And we know many more are going to be joining in the chat room. Please send your questions, comments, concerns. Remember, we have a GoFundMe campaign going on GoFundMe at Support the Front Line with Joe and Joe. You've all supported us with your prayers, and we thank you for that. If you could drop in a couple bucks, support the front line with Joe and Joe on GoFundMe. And remember, take a flyer on the 30-day free trial subscription at the Crusade channel, Mike Church's channel out of New Orleans. Great channel. Mike Church does a great radio show. There's great shows on there, not just the front line with Joe and Joe, Aaron Barker, Rick Barrett, Brother Andre Marie. So it's worth your time to check that out. And we firmly think that you'll become a subscriber of the Crusade channel. So now, what do we always say? They're teeing it up. Hello, Ann. Good evening. They're teeing it up for us. So what happened was this. Before I kick it over to you, we're going to talk. Let me give you a little rundown, okay? Because this is going to be a full conversation. We're going to start out with the pragmatic moderate. The pragmatic moderate, Kamala Harris. Now, I just called her Kamala. I'm going to get into that in a second, okay? Because I have a little theory regarding that whole thing. So we're going to talk about Miss Moderate, Senator Harris. We're going to talk about one of Bernie's people's reaction to Kamala. Not too nice.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Black woman.
Black woman. We think that you're going to love that conversation. Now, the Democrats have caved on reopening schools. That's where the pressure from parents can make these people change, okay? So that we're going to get into that. And we're also going to talk, unfortunately, in the education system about the 1619 project, which is just Marxist revisionist history. So we're going to get into that. And they tried to cancel the 9/11 memorial. These people know no bounds. Such a disgraziad move. But there was a recent development when it comes to that, and we're going to get into that also. And so that story's got a little bit better twist to it. So real quick, as we get into Kamala Harris, okay? This is what you're in store for, all you good people out there in internet land, okay? When it comes to what the left is going to try to do to the right, when they try to legitimately criticize Kamala Harris, okay? Dick Goodstein, I don't like that guy. Let me go on record. You'll tell in about 3 seconds. I don't like that guy.
Why would you call yourself Dick if your name is Richard?
Well, see, I've always said that.
Let me just ask you that.
And let me be.
Why? Why would you do that?
This is not very Catholic of me, but I have always called him appropriately named Dick Goodstein. Okay. And if I was on Fox, I would keep interrupting him by saying, Dick. In other words, maybe he'll get the point. Anyway, now he's on with Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson's about to ask him about Kamala Harris. And this dude showed you exactly what the left is going to do when it comes to her. The way they're going to try to shield her from the scathing criticism, all right, that she deserves, both as a senator and as an attorney general in California. This is what Dick did, okay? He goes, Tucker, this is the way he talks, right? Tucker, wait, before we get into it, I just want to mention that her name is Kama, like the punctuation mark, Kamala. So we really should have mispronounced her name. And Tucker Carlson, like any rational human being, looked at him and said, so what? He goes, so what? He goes, no, you can't disrespect a sitting United States senator like that. That is the opening salvo. That's the opening shot across the bow. What that says, that action that Dick Goodstein took with Tucker Carlson is to say, wait till you try to really attack her on issues. and then we're going to paint you as a racist. First of all, if you mispronounce her name, I'm sure Dick Goodstein came this close to calling Tucker Carlson a racist, okay? Because he mispronounced her name, because he didn't call her Kamala. See, this is where you want to punch them in their face. I don't care. Her name's Kamala. That's it, right? But you see what they're trying to do. They're setting the ground. They're setting the ground rules on day one. You won't even, not deliberately. Tucker Carlson didn't deliberately mispronounce her name, okay? But you won't even do that.
Joey's a racist.
All right? Because Tucker Carlson, you're a racist if you do that, because you're not saying her name properly, which is, let me educate you again, Tucker. Kamala. Like, I want to say, this dude gets paid. He gets paid to be on Fox News. Joe and Joe are sitting in the basement trying to build our audience, and this dude gets paid for the crap that he says. Okay? And the thing is, but there's nothing innocuous about it, is my point. And I'll kick it over to you. There's nothing innocuous about it. That is the left saying, because Dick Goodstein doesn't have an original thought in his head. Kuma, chameleon. That's right, Swissy. But he doesn't have an original thought in his head, nor do all the liberal contributors on Fox News. They get their marching orders from central headquarters, Tom Perez, Barack Obama, everybody else, okay? This is the narrative. Go out there and immediately correct anybody who mispronounces her name and call them racist if you have to. This way, maybe these conservatives will back off. I say, bring it on. I would call her Kamala right to her face, just to say, I don't care. Listen, people call me Pachillo or Pacillo. I don't correct them. I said, you can go either way.
Whatever.
You know, whatever. In other words, and that's what Tucker Carlson said. He goes, so what? So what? So you're at the front line with Joe and Joe. I thought you'd be interested in that story because we are going to talk about Kamala Harris. All right. So we're going to talk about her, and as I said, we're going to get into a few things about Senator Harris from California.
So as Joe said, Mr. Biden chose Kamala Harris.
Swissy's got Kamala Harris's picture on her thumbnail.
That's fantastic.
Thank you for the compliment, Swissy. She said we're the best.
So, just to throw a couple points before we get into the meat and potatoes of discussing this particular pick, I just want to remind everybody a little bit about Ms. Harris. This ticket, Biden-Harris, will be the most radical pro-abortion ticket since Roe v. Wade has been passed in 1973. And they are absolutely unabashedly proud of that fact. Mm-hmm. This is undisputable. Number two, Joe Biden just picked a woman who called him to his face a racist. Who hung out with segregationists to his face, and sadly, she stated as well that she believed in his sexual harassment accusers. So let's break this down objectively. Let's not even talk about the abortion piece, because that's undisputable, just based on your position. Yeah. Undisputable. They
both believe in abortion up to the moment where the woman is dilating, which means the baby's being born, and they still would be in favor of killing that baby.
By the way, that is a position that should automatically disqualify you. I've said that time and time again. I'm going to say it.
Keep saying it, brother.
Time because it's the truth. Let's just talk about those two things. That she, A, called him a racist who hung out with segregationists, and B, she believes the people who accused him of sexual harassment. Actually, it goes beyond sexual harassment. It's sexual assault when you push someone up against a wall and you violate their person. She believes him. So, if what she said is true, she has no character. None. Because if you believe that,
then you would not be on this ticket.
I'm very sorry, Mr. Biden. Thank you, but I cannot be a part of your ticket because A, you are a racist, and B, I believe you to be a predator. Mm-hmm. So that means she has no character, number one. And number two, Joe Biden thinks you're stupid.
That's right.
This is all I could say.
But why?
I don't know what else to say.
But why? And this is why we say all the time, anybody who's talking like Joe and Joe, not just promoting ourselves, anybody who's talking like us, you must share these videos. I don't care if it's Mike Knowles. I don't care who it is. Now, again, Joe and I, we make it very clear. We're Roman Catholic men. We want everybody in the world to come into the Roman Catholic Church, okay? And there's no but coming after that. In this culture war that we're in, Okay, we need our friends. Okay, and our friends might not be in the Catholic Church at this moment, but we must come together. We have a lot of overlap, especially when it comes to this type of nonsense. When it comes to abortion and everything else that this regime is going to be pushing. Okay, so the thing is, you need to share these videos and the reason why I'm bringing up sharing videos and getting more word out there, talking to your friends, talking to your family. You'd be surprised, Joe. People you think that are on top of politics, that read the paper, that watch social media, they're clueless. They don't even know who Kamala Harris is. And these are good people. They say, oh, I guess she was an attorney general. She is a radical. She's a radical leftist. And the reason why I say to share everybody's videos and get the message out there is because they know what you just said. Joe Biden, he does think that we're all stupid. No, I'm not refuting.
These things you can't dispute.
Right. I'm not refuting that he thinks we're all stupid. But the one thing he knows he's got is a willing media. So he's got the media in his pocket. So they went in their back room, Barack Obama, Tom Perez, her, Biden, the whole horrid crew, as Milton would have called them, okay? The entire horrid crew say, well, how are we going to get around this? Kamala, you called him a racist to his face. Get CNN on it. Get MSNBC on it. Get all the big tech guys on the phone and suppress everybody who tries to not let that be known by sharing videos of, let's say, her actually saying it. You know what I'm trying to say?
I get it.
But you could do that when you have a willing media. You could do that when the media is in bed with you.
But people, too, sadly, I mean, you had someone who wrote an op-ed in the New York Times that said, I believe the person who's accusing Joe Biden of sexual assault, and I'm voting for him anyway. The sad reality in our voting population is this. There are 40% of Americans that if Mickey Mouse ran as a Democrat, they'd vote for him.
He wins.
They'd vote. 40% of America, at the minimum, would pull that lever. That's another conversation we could talk for hours on. That's a sad reality. These are serious statements made by this woman. And again, if she truly believes them, she would never have associated herself with Joe Biden. And again, it shows she has zero character, or she's a liar. She's posturing. All she cares about is power. And she represents the machine. Barack Obama, Tom Perez, Soros, all of Hollywood, and she will be the president of the United States. She will pull the strings listening to Barack Obama. This is the third term of Barack Obama.
And Joe, the liberal media is actually even admitting that they don't expect Biden to finish out his first term.
They don't want him. They want her. And that's why they have to lose. I think they're going to lose. And that'll be a good thing for America.
Yeah, let me give a quick shout out. You're at the front line with Joe and Joe. Joe Pasillo, Joe Ressinello. You got Anthony with us. Ann's with us. Marilyn is with us. Hey, Marilyn. Chameleon Harris. I like that. Chameleon Harris. Don, what's up? Don, Sandra, Swissy, Barbara, Hamlet's with us. Hamlet, we're going to try not to say her name. But I understand your point. And who else? Michael's with us. And Swissy says, I'm not Catholic. I converted to Judaism, but I love you guys. We love you too, Swissy. And Coffee Cool's with us, Miscellaneous, and Aldo. Aldo's with us, and Karen.
Aldo, what's up, brother?
So you're at the front line with Joe and Joe. So now there's reasons why Joe and I say all the time that we're not going to make assertions without backing them up. We call Kamala Harris a radical leftist. She's not pragmatic.
Well, they call her pragmatic
moderate. Okay. Well, Joe's going to tell you a couple things to show you, illustrate for you, because that's what we do. Okay. Illustrate for you why we could say confidently this woman is a radical leftist.
Well,
and an opportunist.
We've said this from the beginning. The Democratic Party knows that America as a whole they're not interested in socialism. That, to prove my point, that's why Bernie Sanders lost to Joe Biden. Joe Biden, who is a tired old man, absolutely, positively hanging on by a string, lost to Bernie Sanders because of that. So what they're doing is trying to package their socialism in the Joe Biden wrapping paper. Now, immediately when he chose Kamala Harris as his VP, the New York Times and a number of other outlets immediately, because as Joe said, the media is in the bag for them, began to state that she is a moderate. And I want to quote you what some of these folks said. This is what the New York Times said. We'll begin with them. Kamala Harris of California is Joe Biden's pick for vice president, a pragmatic moderate.
Pragmatic moderate.
She's the first black woman on a major party ticket. Then they tweeted, the New York Times once again, pragmatic moderate who spent more of her career as a prosecutor. Miss Harris was seen throughout the presidential search as among the safest choices available to Mr. Biden. The Associated Press weighs in. In adding Harris to the ticket, he can point to her relatively centralist record on issues such as health care and her background in law enforcement in the nation's largest state. Let me just stop there. By the way, and we're going to talk about this, she's for health care for all, Medicare for all, and in terms of law enforcement, because they know it's a loser, because the country's falling apart, particularly our cities. She incarcerated people for small marijuana crimes. We're going to talk about that too. I'm going to go on. The Detroit Press headline: Kamala Harris, centralist record, contributed to Biden pick. Let's go to CNBC. They said widely considered a moderate. Again, one of two things can be concluded by this. One, they know it's a loser, to speak the truth about her record, and we're going to break down her record position by position. But two, maybe they're just so radically left
that they think she's a moderate.
It's one of two things.
Right.
They're in their head such radical leftists that they said they're moderate.
You know what? This is going to sound very.
It's one of two things.
This is going to sound very crude on my part. Okay, and I apologize for my crudeness right off the bat. If they wanted a safe pick, now I don't agree with her on probably 100% of things. If they wanted a safer pick, they would have picked Tulsi Gabbard. Okay, because while Tulsi Gabbard was defending this country, because she's a veteran, you know, Tulsi Gabbard. All right, she fought. She was over. I forgot if it was Iraq or Afghanistan. While she was defending this country, okay, Kamala Harris was banging Willie Brown in San Francisco, rising to the top of the political food chain in that godforsaken state. Okay, so if you wanted to just make that comparison between who would have been the safer pick, they could have had Tulsi Gabbard, who at least on a couple things could have sounded a little bit more moderate. She wouldn't have necessarily put her foot in her mouth the way the Republicans are going to make Kamala Harris put her foot in her mouth. But just in terms of sheer record, Biden could have pointed to Tulsi Gabbard and say, well, she's not a career politician. In other words, she ran for Congress. She won. She is a veteran. She fought in war. She defended this nation. Much more palatable, I would think, to the American people if you wanted to go with the safe pick. They didn't go with the safe pick because amongst that horrid crew that was on that stage, out of all 20 people, Tulsi Gabbard was the only one who kind of went back at them a little bit. Okay, but even her was even she's way to the left. But if again, I was a political strategist, and we're always told the Democrats have the smartest political strategists there are. Where's Robbie Mook working nowadays? Okay, that he was the genius that ran Hillary Clinton's campaign. So no, I'm not convinced they're all smart. I think this is a terrible move, based on what I just told you. Because if you wanted a woman of color to be on the ticket, you should have picked Tulsi Gabbard. I'm a pretty good salesman. Okay. I could sell Tulsi Gabbard. Now, I would never vote for her. But if I was talking to you about, let's say, someone who sounds a little bit more moderate, defended America, you know, she's a veteran and all that, I can make a case for her that I cannot make for Kamala Harris.
But the thing is, they don't want a moderate. You see, they're trying to. It's a bait and switch. It's the wrapping paper. They're interested in a radical agenda, and it's the Joe Biden wrapping paper. And the press knows that the swing states are not going to buy into her record. So what do they have to do? They have to sell her as a moderate. Let's talk about some facts. Harris co-sponsored Medicare for all. She backed the Green New Deal, pushed for higher taxes, called for open borders, defended sanctuary cities, demanded taxpayer-provided health care for all illegal aliens, promoted late-term abortion, and endorsed a religious litmus test on Catholic nominations to the judiciary. If any of the above items on a candidate's platform qualifies as the label of a moderate, it only illustrates how far left the Democratic Party has pulled itself over its drawn-out primary. But it provides a substantial testament to extremism, breeding extremism in an age of historic polarization.
But let me ask you a question. In this age, I would agree with you, but I'm not going to blame Donald Trump for the polarization. I'm blaming them. You want to know why? You know who the pragmatic moderate is? Donald Trump.
Oh, I agree.
And
I agree.
And that is a demonstrable statement.
He's not an ideologue.
Not an ideologue. He is the pragmatic moderate that the New York Times. Why? And remember something. Why do they hate Donald Trump so much? Abortion. 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 Because where is he on gay marriage? The LGBT crowd's got no problem with him. They have no beef with him whatsoever. Okay? Even one of his Supreme Court nominees, okay, Neil Gorsuch, voted with the liberals, with John Roberts, okay, and changed the Civil Rights Act, okay, so that male and female now includes whatever gender you want.
Ridiculous.
Okay, that was Donald Trump's nominee, Neil Gorsuch, okay. Donald Trump has done nothing to hurt the LGBT crowd, okay. In fact, some people would argue he's been a little bit too in favor of them. He's been pro-life. He opposed tariffs on China. That's a Democrat talking point. He's trying to bring manufacturing. That's always been a traditional Democrat position. Okay. Globalism. He's trying to that the Republicans and the Democrats hate him equally. But my point is, Trump has been the one who's been the pragmatic moderate, and the New York Times got the balls to call this woman a pragmatic moderate.
Well, you know, this is also very interesting, and I didn't know this, and I want to share this with you. According to VoteView, which tracks the ideological voting records of individual senators, okay? Harris, this is not my view. This is their view, and they're tracking how they vote across the board. Harris is the farthest left Democrat of the upper chamber, second only to the Massachusetts Democratic Senator
Elizabeth Warren.
That's according to how she's voted. Now, the New York Times knows this. The media knows this, and they don't want you to know it. And we're going to talk issue by issue after I get done ranting. But my point of the matter is this. She is not a moderate. They're going to try to package her as a moderate because they know the people of America are not interested in those things which I just ran down. Do you think that people in Michigan want to give health care to illegal aliens? How many Americans don't have health care?
Right.
How much will that cost?
And she's scary. When they asked her that question, I forgot which leftist reporter asked her the question. She's scariest. She's at her Kamala scariest when she starts, let me be clear about this. Okay, that's typical state government bureaucrat way of speaking is what that is. I don't care if you're white, black, I don't care. It's always that, let me be clear. That's a woman who says, I have power. Let me be clear. And then she goes on to state that she wants to take care. She wants to make sure that every single person in America has health care regardless of their citizenship. That's what she's saying. That's radical.
Well,
that's radical.
I want to be honest with you. I do too. How are we going to pay for it?
Right.
You see, that's how an adult lives their life. You see, a father, when you live in a house and you have to pay bills and like things are real, like kids, you have to put clothes on their back, you got to pay for medical bills. You say, how much does it cost? That's what an adult says.
But then they attack you for that. When you make a statement like what you're talking about with the healthcare, okay, when they made the statement about the Green New Deal, and then that is their usual response is, why do you always talk about how much it's going to cost? I don't know, because it's coming out of my friggin' pocket. Maybe that's a reason, because I'm tired of paying a third of my income in taxes, okay, or more.
Oh, you can
in taxes.
You can afford it.
Do you want to take more from me? And middle class people better get it straight. If you're even thinking about voting for this godforsaken ticket. Okay, you think they're stopping with rich people? They go from the 1% to the 5% to the 10%, and they go all the way down until they get to you. They don't pay for anything just taking it from rich people. They make you pay for it. What they do is they hide the taxes, like a gas tax. If you told most Americans, or asked most Americans, do you know that there's a gas tax in this country? They would tell you they don't.
Jersey pays a quarter for every gallon.
Right. Why do I pay a gas tax? I already pay sales tax. Why am I paying a gas tax? Okay, but if you said that to most people, they wouldn't know that occurs because they hide their taxes. If you're a middle-class person and you calculated all the taxes that the Democrats impose on you, okay, with Republican cooperation, so I'm not exonerating them either, you say to yourself, what am I, in the friggin' 1%? What you keep talking about taxing rich people, okay? But my point is, yes, Joe just used the right word. It's an adult question. How are you going to pay for it? Because we don't want to. And we know you don't want to.
Establishment Democrats praised Biden's choice. The Clintons applauded the selection, with former President Bill Clinton describing her as a terrific choice, and failed Trump challenger Hillary Clinton deemed her an incredible public servant and leader.
What did Clinton call her?
Yeah, what did he say? He praised a terrific choice.
She's a terrific choice because he wants her to see that, because you know damn well Slick Willie wants to bed her down. And I'm not, you know, I'm not just saying, you know, he looks and says, "Oh, I'd love to have a piece of that." That's exactly what he said. You know, let me pay her a couple compliments. Maybe I could get some.
My favorite one is Barack Obama. He praised Biden, proclaiming that his former running mate nailed this decision. Why I say that's my favorite? Because it was his decision. He told her, "I'm waiting," because Joe's good for this. I'm waiting for him to slip and actually say that out of his mouth.
He will, and he will not know that he slipped.
Is exactly, and
then he's going to get the phone call afterwards, and it's going to be Barry on the other end of the line saying, Joe, what are you doing, Joe?" He's going, "What? I told you to. I said what you told me to say. Why you get mad at me, Barry?"
I'm waiting for him to say, and Barack had the best pick for vice president, Kamala Harris. I'm waiting, because that's who chose her. He had nothing to do with it. Zero. But let's talk issues here. We talked a little bit. I gave you a little taste about like what she voted for and how VoteView basically ranked her amongst her peers in the Senate. I want to talk about some issues because I think it's very important to know the facts, know what she stands for, know what she's done, and to prove that she is all about a far left ideology. She is so far from a moderate Democrat. Words cannot basically even, to be honest with you, I'm surprised the person who said that didn't get struck by lightning. It's such a lie. It's such a lie, and it's a deception. They're trying to deceive the American people. So let's begin with this. Marijuana loans. Harris effectively jailed nearly 2,000 people for marijuana-related offenses as her time as the prosecutor in California, despite joking about the fact that she smoked weed herself. Brett Kavanaugh. Harris was among one of the most vocal senators during the Democrats' effort to take down the now Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Mm-hmm. Despite the gross discrepancies in Christine Blasey Ford's testimony and Kavanaugh's vehement denial, Harris concluded, based on her unsubstantiated attacks, that he lied to the U.S. Senate and, most importantly, to the American people, and that's a quote. Impeachment. The California senator vehemently supported what has been dubbed as the Democrats' impeachment witch hunt against Donald Trump. Throughout the process, Harris repeatedly called Trump a criminal and unpatriotic. And here's one. This is a beauty. ICE equals KKK. During the 2018 hearing, it featured ICE Chief Ronald Vitiello. Harris attempted to liken the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency to the Ku Klux Klan, proclaiming that she is talking about a perception. Are you out of your mind?
Right.
The Ku Klux Klan.
I don't know how any cop in America could vote for this woman.
She was a cop. She was an attorney general. Right. I mean, she was part of the top cop of the state. And say that in a state that has so many border problems,
right,
is unbelievable.
No, I'm telling you. Hamlet's with us. He says Harris is barely black. Mother's Indian. Father's a white Jamaican, and a small percentage of black. She spent most of her time in Montreal. You know who made that point? Him and Michael Voris on Church Militant made that point. She has not had the authentically black experience. And what we talk about on this show, when we talk about the authentically black experience, is what the blacks in America have been going through in the inner city thanks to the Democrat Party. Kamala Harris knows nothing about that. She is not familiar with that whatsoever. PhD. Now, here's the other thing, too. When it comes, and we're not going to get into this tonight. When it comes to reparations, guess who's got to pay? Kamala's got to pay, too, because her ancestors were slave owners. That's one thing that they're not going to broadcast on CNN and MSNBC.
Mine weren't.
Now, are they? Mine weren't.
Mine were in the hills of southern Italy, right, making goat cheese.
Right, yeah, right. Seriously, like poor dirt farmers in Castelnuovo di Conza in the Provincia di Salerno, okay? So my mother's parents are over there. My father's parents came here in 1908 when they were 7 and 8 years old, okay? And they were, and both sides were poor, okay? So the thing is this. That's a more authentic, American experience. But Kamala Harris knows none of that. None whatsoever, okay? You live in Montreal. Montreal's a bad place to live. What are you talking about? So very good point, Hamlet. Thanks for bringing that up. And she is clueless, Linda. You're absolutely right. So,
but let's talk more issues. Biden's Ukraine scandal. While the lawmaker sparred with Biden during the primary, she refused to discuss the looming questions surrounding Biden's role in the firing of the Ukraine prosecutor who is investigating Burisma Holdings, where his son Hunter pocketed tens of thousands of dollars a month. Biden and his vice president threatened to withhold $1 billion in aid unless the prosecutor investigating the company was fired. Pro-abortion. Last May, Harris bragged about raising $161,000 for pro-abortion organizations. And during last year's October debate, Harris falsely stated, this is rich, that women will die, poor women, women of color will die due to the abortion restrictions in red states. Actually, it's just the opposite.
Right.
Black children are dying. In some states, they're dying more at a higher rate than they're being born.
Right.
That's for New York City, by the way. Gun control. Biden's addition to Harris has heightened the campaign's anti-Second Amendment views. Last year, Harris vowed to take action on guns via an executive order if she became president.
Does it strike you when you go through that, and you could, hi, Anna. Anna, I know Anna from Newark from back in the day. Good to see you, if it's the same Anna. But does it ever strike you that by picking Kamala Harris to be his VP, he's basically forecasting what he's going to do for his cabinet, that everybody who fills a cabinet post is going to be somebody who was on that stage? So you're going to have Robert Francis O'Rourke, otherwise known as Beto. Okay,
well, he's going to be the gun czar.
He's going to be the gun czar. Elizabeth Warren is going to be the Secretary of Education. No, you got them all lined up there. Cory Booker is going to be the head of the Civil Rights Division at the Justice Department, or maybe even Attorney General. Who knows?
Oh.
Like you could see Biden's just going to pick everybody on that stage, and he's going to plug them in. Well, Barack Obama and Tom Perez are going to pick people off that stage. Says, well, listen, Democrats, some like him, some like him, some like him. Guess what? We're going to pick you all and put you in the administration, and we're going to announce it. And this way, we'll really fire up the base to get out there and go vote against Orange Man bad in November.
I alluded to this. She wants free healthcare for illegal aliens. I want to give you the cost. That would be a $660 billion per decade bill. Where are we getting that money?
Why? Come here. I'm going to hit you. Why do you keep asking about cost?
Why
do you keep asking about how much it will cost? And that's, by the way, they do it. They do it in that voice. And they do it with that kind of hissy fit, kind of childish thing where they go, why do you keep talking about how much it's going to cost? That's what they do. It's
unbelievable. And here's the thing. This is what people, and that's why we have this show. And that's why we basically try to communicate these facts. This is what all you good people need to do as well. You have to educate people. You have to tell them, listen, no. This is what she's for. No, she's not for that. Actually, no, she is for that. She is for that. There's too many people that are voting against Donald Trump simply because they don't like him. And if you said some of these things that I just rattled off, they'd be like, I'm not for that. So then my question is, well, then why are you voting for a ticket that supports this?
Right.
You see, it comes down to that. Too many people, again, they'd vote for Mickey Mouse if he or she was a Democrat.
Right.
Just because it's not Donald Trump. That's not an adult decision.
No, it's not.
And these things that I just read off, I'll be honest with you, any objective adult should not be for them. Because frankly, some of them are financially, they're just not possible. And second of all, frankly, I don't think they're feasible or good for the country. First of all, like, they never understand that when you take so much money out of the economy is going to shrink. Because less people are going to go out there to make money. It's just economics 101. But what they think in their mind is that if we can just control about 60 to 70% of national income, we could get done everything we want. And we leave the rest out there for all those people that complain about making money. But if we could take about $15 trillion out of the economy for what we want to do it, all right, and then they lie and they say, but don't look at it as spending. It's investment. You don't invest. You're the government. The government gets no return on its money. Look at the post office if you want an example of a government-run business.
That's what they want. They want to control about 60, 70% of national income.
As you're saying that, the image of Barack Obama talking to Joe the plumber comes to mind. Joe, you don't understand.
Right.
We gotta spread it around.
Right, we gotta spread it around.
We gotta spread it around.
Right. So you start the business,
Joe.
and I'm gonna skim off the top.
You don't understand.
You're right. You don't understand.
Joe the plumber understands, because Joe the plumber works 14 hours a day.
Right.
Barack Obama does not know what it means to work in the private sector, because he never did.
Right. Another one who didn't have if you want to call it an authentically African-American experience. None whatsoever. Grows up in Hawaii, goes to the best schools. Wait, these kids getting shot in Chicago. You know something about that, Barack? You know something about that, Kamala?
Joe,
you know about these kids getting shot in New York City? 14, I think, over the weekend or over the last week. 14 people have gotten killed, not shot.
I was a community organizer.
Well,
I was a community organizer.
Listen.
I was organizing the community. Whatever that means.
Whatever that means. Linda's with us. Miscellaneous is with us. Helen. Hi, Helen. And Sue, Anna, Bradley. Kevin's with us. Hey, Kev. What's happening, brother?
How do you pay the bills as a community organizer?
You don't.
How do you go buy friggin' cold cuts as a community organizer?
If you're a community organizer, you pay the bills by taking other people's money away from them. Anna's with us. Hey, Anna. Hey, she says, hi, Joe. Yes, it's me. Hey, fellow Norker. And all right, so we got a good conversation. Everybody is a buzz in the chat room, and that's just the comments that we see. So, but I do want to mention somebody commented about why would we do this? Okay. And that's my sentiment exactly. Like, why would the American people, why do we have to wait for 2 years of disaster when you're being warned now that just how radical these people are? Because you know what's going to happen. That's why they're threatening to, by the way, to do away with the filibuster, because they know the pattern. They know voting patterns. They know how elections go. Biden wins in 2020 in November. He gets the House, the Senate, and the presidency. They're going to ram through everything they want. They want to do away with the filibuster because they know in 2 years, the American people are going to, if they reacted against Obamacare, and Obamacare was tame socialism compared to this stuff. Okay, if the American people reacted against Obamacare the way they did by sweeping in the Tea Party, okay, what do you think the American people are going to do in 2022 when it comes to the House and the Senate? And my point is this: why do we have to wait? You already know what Trump is doing. And Joe's right. Stop with the I don't like the guy. You know what? You might not like him, but he likes you. He's trying to take care of you as a working American by helping you to keep more money in your pocket, by reducing regulation so you have a job, by bringing manufacturing back, by fighting against China so they stop robbing us.
China!
And he doesn't want babies killed in the womb. Okay, so what's so bad about this guy, if you're independent or moderate, that you would even think for a second about voting for Biden Harris? For 1 second.
Well, this is interesting because I do think Donald Trump is going to win. I really do, sincerely. And I think he's going to win a lot bigger than they're actually even saying, some people saying he's going to win. Mm-hmm. I think that people are starting to see. And I also think that, and we're going to talk about this basically, particularly in our Crusade show tomorrow, that the Democrats overplayed their hand.
Way overplayed.
They overplayed their hand.
Because they're children. Because adults know how to play a poker hand. Kids don't.
It. But this is interesting. We talked about how the media basically is trying to label Kamala as a moderate because they know that the American people are not interested in the facts. We just listed the facts, which proves she's not a moderate. We also noted VoteView, which looks at an aggregate of all senators and how they vote, and she is the furthest left on that list. That's not my opinion. Look that up for yourself. Okay, now, when she was chosen by Mr. Biden to be the VP, this is very interesting. The former National Press Secretary, who is an African-American woman, for Bernie Sanders weighed in.
Now catch this.
This is what she said. And this is what I like to call, when we do segments on the Crusade channel, a metric that matters. Okay? Pay close attention. There is a great deal of frustration over the Biden-Harris ticket. Brianna Joy Gray, the former National Press Secretary for Bernie Sanders, said during a Democracy Now! Interview, this is what she said: While Gray acknowledged Biden's selection of Kamala Harris as historic, she pointed to the current political and cultural environment, suggesting that neither Biden nor Harris meet the moment. Keep this in mind. 35% of Democrats supported Bernie Sanders. It is vital that every single solitary one of them votes for Joe Biden.
Right.
Now, this is the National Press Secretary for Bernie Sanders. This is what she said. I'm going to read you the quote. She said, in the midst of the largest protest movement in U.S. history against racist policing, there's a great deal of frustration around Joe Biden's vice presidential pick, Kamala Harris, who is known for being the top cop from California. Something else historic is going on right now, which is that we are in the middle of the largest protest movement in American history, she said, stating that people are seeking non-punitive, non-incarceral solutions to the kinds of economic problems that are plaguing the Black and brown communities and Americans as a whole. She added this. A great deal of frustration due to the Democrats. Note, she doesn't include herself. She doesn't say us.
Right.
She says due to the Democrats' choice, not only to nominate a candidate who is known as the author of what is commonly called the Joe Biden crime bill, but also selected a running mate who is known for being the top cop from California, the state that has the second highest number of incarcerated people in America. You see, this is why I think this was a poorly vetted choice. Pence is going to bring this up. Donald Trump had a criminal the criminal justice reform bill. She did a lot of things that bill negated. Right. Particularly imprisoning people for small marijuana charges.
Again, who is the pragmatic moderate? One more time, it's a perfect example of what we're talking about. Joe and I back up everything we say at the front line with Joe and Joe. We just don't make an assertion. There's an example of Trump as a pragmatic moderate and her as an opportunist. In this case, she's an opportunist. She jailed these kids for marijuana possession, okay? There was another scandal involving a guy on death row. She withheld evidence in that case, okay? Why? Because that shows that she's an opportunist, okay? So she's a far leftist. She wants to rise to the top of the political food chain, okay? She will be president of the United States if Biden gets elected. That's why we have to go out and vote against them in November. She will be your president at some point between January 20th, 2021 and January 20th of 2025. She will be president of the United States. I'm going to borrow a leftist line that I've heard my whole life. Oh, man, conservatives are really scary. Kamala Harris as president of the United States scares the crap out of me. You know, Biden actually is a deal maker, if you want the truth. And the Democrats know that, okay? That's why he's not controlling things.
That's why he's the wrapping paper.
Right. He's the wrapping paper. See, Biden left on his own and not the current scrumbiad in the head, Joe Biden. Biden from 10, 15 years ago. Biden's a deal maker. Just like what he did with Ukraine, right? He's a deal maker. Yeah, son of a bitch. They called up and, they fired the prosecutor, the example that you gave. Biden's a deal maker. He will make deals. He would actually make deals with Republicans to get what he wants. See, in that way, he's a Democrat, but he's not the one making the decisions. He's not the one making the decisions. And that's what's scary. So when I hear people go, dude, man, conservatives are really scary, Kamala Harris is scary.
Well, get
this. The current crop of the leadership are scary.
Miss Gray goes on. Again, she's the former National Press Secretary to Bernie Sanders. This is what she said. Point blank. Harris has not done enough to relieve concerns over her previous stances, nor has she demonstrated the level of growth progressives desire. She also questioned the electoral benefit of Harris coming to the ticket, contending that Biden already had the base of black voters in swing states locked down. Now, this is a metric that matters. Why? Because she represents a large percentage of Democratic voters who supported Bernie Sanders, who are absolutely not happy with this choice.
Right, with Joe Biden.
And that means, at the minimum, they might not show up. They may not vote for Donald Trump, but they
might not show up to vote for Biden.
And in doing so, the Donald cruises in.
He might win New Jersey. Gerard's with us. Gerard, can you imagine? Can you imagine if Trump won our godforsaken state? Gerard's from Newark, too. We grew up together. And Gerard, to answer your question, how could she be president? Both her parents were born in the U.S. I assume, Gerard, that, she was, again, I'm assuming, unlike Obama, like there's no question Harris is a citizen. But good question. Sue's with us. Pelosi needs to retire. You're damn skippy, Sue.
Pelosi needs to go to jail.
Gerard said, don't get me started. No, cuz, don't worry. I won't get you started. So anyway, you're at the front line with Joe and Joe. Joe Pasillo and Joe Resinello. We got a good conversation going on right now. A lot of people in the chat room, a lot of questions, comments, concerns. Please, if you're following us on Facebook, share our videos with your friends. Suggest for your friends to like our page, share our videos. We have to get the message out there. Most people, a lot of you good people who are listening to us right now, you know this stuff. And we love talking to you because Joe and I are Italians. We're chiacchierones. We're just going to keep talking. And we think we got something to say. We must share this. Don't assume people know it the way you do. We know it. We got to let other people know it. Why? Because they're stupid? No, because they don't have the information. Maybe they're watching CNN. Maybe they're watching MSNBC. Not that Fox is the be-all and end-all. But the thing is, they don't know a lot about this. So when the Democrats turn around and say, Kamala Harris, she really is a pragmatic moderate, more people would say, absolutely not. I know a little bit about her because I watched the front line with Joe and Joe. Joe, where are we headed next?
We're going to talk all things public education, sadly, because the first day of school is coming. Or is it? So let's talk about it. Prominent Democratic politicians have started making huge concessions on reopening schools. Why, you may ask that? Well, let's talk about New York City, because that's where we live. We live real close to New York City. And let's talk about what's going on, because I think they're setting the trend. New York's richest people have fled during the lockdowns. And the bottom line is this: those same wealthy people have choices. And the longer they stay outside New York City and start making friends and get used to a new place, the less likely they're going to return. So let's talk about reasons why they're changing their tune with regard to opening schools. The pressure to reopen schools is now everywhere. Now, that began in New York City. Second, Democrats' hard opposition to school reopenings has been a political disaster. And third, all the push polls and media scaremongering promoting the idea that most parents shouldn't and wouldn't send their kids back to school have failed. We've said this time and time again, and this is why we're saying it again on another show, because it's important. This hurts the poor and the middle class. Regular people cannot hire tutors for their kids. Many people survive on two incomes. And they cannot homeschool their children. Many people will be devastated by this, and that translates in votes to Donald Trump.
That's right.
And there have been numerous doctors. Stanford University, there's another doctor out of California in Santa Monica, and there have been many, many, many pediatricians going on mainstream liberal stations stating the risks to children are so minimal, if basically non-existent.
Well, here's an interesting one. Now, I read this as a fact. I forgot where I saw it, so I apologize ahead of time. But the statement I heard, and maybe one of you good people out there could confirm this, there has not been one case in the entire world where a teacher has gotten COVID from a child. Not one. But yet the teachers' unions are rolling it up. And we covered it last week. Did we cover that on the Crusade show or here?
I think it was Crusade.
Or we covered it on the Crusade show. The list of demands from the teachers' unions reads like Kamala Harris's wish list. In other words, they in order for them to go back to work, which shows that they're liars, by the way. Okay, shows that they're really liars. Oh, it's too dangerous to go back. But if we go back, we want our rent and mortgage canceled. We want what they say. They don't want any vouchers. They don't want any support for charter schools. They want their all-inclusive LGBT curriculum. They want what does that have to do with COVID? What does that have to do with COVID? So they're showing their true colors in all this, particularly the teachers unions. But you're right. This is what happens when they feel like Trump is getting a little bit of ahead of steam. They have to backtrack on their position. Okay, they've overplayed that hand.
Well, this is an interesting. Donald had something interesting. He said, "My union is pushing Biden hard, but most members support Trump." You see,
right.
That's how the country's going.
Right.
You see, it's the oligarchs. It's many of the elites. They're the ones pushing Biden. Why? Because they're not going to be affected by the Biden presidency. You see, there are rich people in the poorest of nations, Honduras, Nicaragua. If you have a high intellect or you've been born into a family of power or money, it doesn't matter who the president is. You're still rich. It's regular people. They will keep their power. Socialism cements the elites into their position.
Right.
And it pushes the middle class down. Don't let anyone ever tell you.
Well, there is no middle class in that case. You push it down. What exists of the middle class once the socialists take power, if they haven't already destroyed it up to that point, whatever's left of the middle class then gets obliterated. Everybody then becomes poor. We've said it a million times on the show. We'll say it again. Napoleon, an Animal Farm, not Napoleon, the Bonaparte. Napoleon the pig. All animals are equal. Some animals are more equal than others. So obviously, like you said, you used the right word. They cement their position. See, cement is hard. It doesn't move. You know what I mean? So they cement their position at the top of the food chain, at the top of society, and then they take everybody else and they make everybody equally miserable. I said that to so many leftists in my life. I said, yeah, socialists are for equality. They want everybody to be equally miserable.
And Donald said, I asked my union, basically, why would you support Biden? And they have no answer. You see, Donald, there lies the solution to it. That's why you have to have facts. When you confront people who basically have these deluded misconceptions, because frankly, if you ask me, they're not looking at problems square. They're twisting reality, actually. Like when we talk about Medicare for all. Oh, illegal aliens should have, well, I think that would be great, but it costs $660 billion a decade. Where are we getting that money?
Right.
Where are we getting that money? My point is, when you confront people with that, they have no answer because there is no answer to give.
Right.
You see, that's the type of thing that we, as regular people, Joe and I are normal people living, trying to make a living, trying to take care of our family. That's what you have to, it only takes one thing to do that. It takes courage. You see, you have to also not be afraid to be disliked. Too many people want to be liked. They want to fit in. You see, when people peddle lies, you have to confront them with that very question, Donald. Just like what you said. Why are you supporting Donald Trump? And they have no good answer. I mean, not Donald Trump, Joe Biden.
Joe Biden. Crickets.
They have no answer.
Let's give a quick shout out. I just want to XR hasn't been with us for a while. Hey, he says, hey, J&J, long time. Hope all is well. Hope all is well with you, brother. Thanks for coming by. At the front line with Joe and Joe Pasillo, Joe Resinello. And we have a very active chat room going on right now. So yeah, you're exactly right. They don't have an answer. It's just going to be orange man bad. We hate and don't like Donald Trump. I think I've given you people the example before. During Mass one day, before Mass, my wife turned to one of our fellow parishioners and said, did you see what the Democrats did to Brett Kavanaugh? And this person, who we have a pretty good relationship with, said, I don't like Trump. That's what we're dealing with. I tell that story all the time because that is the mentality that Joe's talking about. I don't like Trump, but I'm asking about Brett Kavanaugh. I don't like Trump. Oh, so you'll let a guy get excoriated, a fellow Roman Catholic, okay, who did not deserve that and got lied about because you don't like Donald Trump. You don't like Orange Man. I can't wait for him to win. I cannot wait. I don't want what's going to happen on election night, okay? Because soon as Trump wins Florida, that'll be one of the first states called. Soon as Trump wins Florida, the riots are going to start. By the time the night's over and Trump beats Biden, worse than he beat Hillary, they're already going to be burning down cities.
See, I want two things, Joe. I'm going to take it even further. I want Donald Trump to win, and I want Barack Obama to go to jail when William Barr investigates the nonsense that went on into him basically getting involved in the 2016 election.
Right.
Because he was involved.
Right.
And I want Barr to go after him and basically point it to take it to such a degree that he has to crawl back into his $40 million hole in frigging Massachusetts that he just bought from the co-owner of the Boston Celtics, the man of the people, the man who understands the black man in the ghetto, just bought a vacation home for $40 million. I want him put in jail. Because that was one of the worst political scandals in the history of this country. And he knew about it, and so did Biden. And I want Barr to put him in jail.
That's one of the biggest things that can happen.
Then we could stop the show. I'll be honest with you.
No, we're never going to stop the front line with Joe and Joe.
I'll be so happy.
This guy's got a great name, African Diasporan. We love you, African. He says we're already praying against the madness that these liberals are planning. They're planning. They have planned. Are implementing. Continue to plan. It's one continuous atrocity after another. But anyway, so you're at the front line with Joe and Joe. Yeah. Talking about the reopening schools, they're feeling the pressure. Okay, and by the way, just to put a finer point on it, that's why if you watch that House Judiciary, if you want to call it that, committee meeting hearing they had with Bill Barr, why they were going after him so badly and trying to discredit him. Okay, because they know he's this close. Now he was on with Mark Levin last week. Okay, and I was watching a little bit of it and basically said the wheels of justice grind slowly. Okay, but he also made it clear that those wheels are moving, okay? And what's his name? Durham, the prosecutor, the attorney.
The FBI is going to jail.
They're going to drop some bombs, is what they're going to do. If Trump gets elected, which we are praying to God that he does, you watch for the orange jumpsuits. You watch for the jumpsuits. There will be. See, if Biden wins, the whole thing is going away.
Oh, that's a fact.
The whole thing is going away, okay? Because your new attorney general is going to just go like this, throw the whole thing in the garbage. Trump has to win. Somebody mentioned that the Democrats are having many sleepless nights. Sleepless because they know not only do they lose political power, there's a lot of them that are going to be going to jail.
I want Obama in jail.
I
do.
He was
behind it. He's behind this.
I'm sorry, real quick. African says I'm a girl. Sorry about that. So
he's behind this. He's pulling the strings that created this race war. He's behind it. He's also pulling the strings to get the funds for it. From Hollywood, Black Lives Matter is a slush fund. They're funding this nonsense. It's all funded, and Obama is a part of it. I want him in jail.
That would be really good. So anyway, you're at the front line with Joe and Joe. Swissy said, Obama in prison. Prego, fratello mio. Yes, please. We want to see. I want to see them cry. I want to see them crying. I want to see them begging the American people for mercy when they get cold busted for blatantly violating the law. So anyway, being that we're on education, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, let's talk about
this. This is the type of nonsense that you have to deal with when it comes to the education establishment, okay? So we wanted to talk about it a little bit and see what you think about it. It's called, what is it?
It's the 1619, basically, project, which distorts American history with a leftist spin, of course, and public schools are paving the way for Americans to basically prescribe to it. In response to numerous schools adopting a history curriculum based on the New York Times' 1619 project, Senator Tom Cotton proposed a bill that would deny them federal funding. Several prominent historians have criticized the 1619 project inaccuracies and obvious narrative peddling. To introduce this into the classroom would give students a warped view of America and completely misrepresent history as a discipline. Most of the writers of the 1619 project are not historians with expertise neither, but journalists offering biased and uninformed takes on American history.
So why are we relying on journalists to put together the history curriculum in the public schools?
And this is, by the way, funded by you.
Oh, yeah.
You're paying for this.
You're the ones who get hosed.
And this is what's going on. They're trying to basically rebrand American history and indoctrinate our children. That's one of the reasons why my kids don't go to public school. and why I will never, I live in a box because of it. I have 4 kids. I live in a very small house, and I will never, ever send my kids. I'll never do it. I'll spend all my money in my 401k before I send my kids to public school, because I will not have them indoctrinated.
Right.
Not that Catholic school is so great.
But they're not going to teach the 1619 project.
I am not having it. And neither should you. You see, why is it that you, most average American people, have no choice but to accept it? Why? Why do we have to fund this? Why aren't parents going to PTA meetings? Why aren't parents running for school boards and basically telling these leftist organizations who are pulling the strings and forcing teachers' unions to pull this nonsense and to basically indoctrinate our children? Why are you permitting it?
Right.
You're paying for it. You're paying for it. Did you listen? And we talked about this on other shows. Elizabeth Warren, when she did her stump speech regarding who she would nominate if she was the president as the Secretary of Education, she was talking about some kid who thought he was like a 9-year-old who thought he was a girl.
Right.
And he's sitting there with his mother.
Right.
Both of the mother should have been in prison. 20 years ago, she would have been in prison, saying that she would ask this kid
to do the interview with the presumptive Secretary of Education.
This is who would be in charge.
Right.
Of your children's education.
Right. Elizabeth Warren will be the choice for Secretary of Education. There's no, after the woman lied and called herself an Indian, a Native American, so that she can get a $400,000 job at Harvard. Okay, that's going to be your Secretary of Education. African diaspora said Obama was such a. This is important because we talk about this all the time. Okay, Obama was such a disappointment. I became a conservative after voting for him twice. That says a lot. This is an African American woman voted for Obama twice. Basically, what happens? Because Donald Trump's the savior? No, because your eyes get open to what they're doing on the other side, and you say, you know what? Trump's not so bad. Like I'm saying, even if you know enthusiastically supporting Donald Trump, say Trump's not so bad. These people are nuts. Isn't that kind of what she's saying? In other words, because he was a disappointment. Listen, if I didn't know Obama's track record, in other words, going like back into the Illinois state Senate, he sounded very moderate. I remember when he gave the keynote speech in the 2004 Democratic National Convention.
They loved him.
All right, and I did too. I remember at the time saying, "Well, now I would have never voted for him because of abortion." Okay, but I said, "Well, this guy sounds kind of centrist. Well, this guy sounds kind of moderate." You know what I mean?
He's a what's it called? He's a pragmatic ideologue. I mean, he's a very, very captivating guy. You know, the devil always is. By the way, the devil doesn't walk around with a tail and horns. Barack Obama is absolutely, positively behind all of this nonsense. They are destroying this country from within. They're trying to remake America into something that it is not.
Yeah, real quick, though, along the lines of this 1619 story, okay, keep in mind, the woman who came up with this basically said that the goal, and this is the larger point in this story, the goal is reparations. You talk about remaking this country, okay? Well, you have the founder, I think, of Ebony Magazine, all right? Sounds like a normal guy until he starts talking about reparations. Then he's talking about spending $14 trillion so that every African-American can get a $300,000 check. This woman who came up with the 1619 project, okay, she says you can't read this project without coming away with the notion that you agree reparations ought to be paid. That's why they're doing it. They can't convince you that you got to pay for reparations. Like we said earlier, our grandparents were dirt farmers in Provincia di Salerno, all right? But they want to convince your kids that you should pay reparations. That's why it's important, like you said, do we have to do something about education in this country? Because 1619 project, that's going to be the tip of the iceberg. That's not going to be the end of it, okay? Because they're going to want their leftist ideology that's going to permeate all education, all courses, like all different subjects. They already did that in New Jersey. There's an all-inclusive LGBT curriculum that Murphy signed that in the middle of riots and COVID so that nobody would see it. And that's what you're dealing with.
This last story proves that the Democrats, because they had to back it out, they've overplayed their hand, and the American people are beginning to see it. They recently canceled the 9/11 lights, which basically commemorate the heroes in New York City, police and firemen who died.
Remember the first word you just said,
Police. They canceled it. And I want to...
Now, let's be fair. It was the museum,
The
right?
museum.
It was
not
the museum.
city. And the museum, one of the people that they note on it, Robert De Niro, is on the board of the museum.
Ooh, I used to be a fan.
So I want to read to you what the Staten Island councilman, Joe Borelli, basically said. Because a lot of people, listen to this across Canada and the U.S. Staten Island, a lot of people died. A lot of cops and firemen live in Staten Island and died in 9/11. They were probably, if you wanted to look at the most densely populated area of victims, probably Staten Island. So this gentleman, Joe Borelli, weighs in on this decision. This is what he said. He said, "This was the wrong call by the museum's board. They have the opportunity to be leaders and live up to the museum's mission. But I suppose, like Robert De Niro, would prefer to keep lecturing us on everything. Indeed, what is the not-so-subtle message behind this decision to erase the two thin blue lights?" He's saying this sarcastically. "Could it be that along with our city's brave firemen, those lights also commemorate 23 police officers who died that tragic day? Or the more than 200 that died in related illnesses for working in the wreckage? Is this not the right time to honor our cops?" he says sarcastically. "Would that be insensitive to the cultural movement? It is far easier for the museum's leadership to sulk away from honoring police officers with pathetic excuses like the coronavirus." They got busted. They had to back it out.
Yep.
Because why? They're overplaying their hand. I want to put a finer point on it. And this is what I think people are basically seeing. If Mayor Bill de Blasio can paint a Black Lives Matter mural on Fifth Avenue without a permit and pay police officers to protect it, instead of, actual Black people who are getting hurt in the communities that are being rioted and burned to the ground, then surely he can find a few dollars to honor the heroes and victims of 9/11. The city's prominent leaders, ever conscious of how much better they are than the average New Yorker, better wake up. People are starting to notice. They're noticing the crime and vagrancy. They see what is happening. Canceling the lights will also be noticed, and with anger. That's why they backed out of it. We need courage in these times. We need to stand up and not cower. We need our heroes. We need our stories. We need our tribute to what makes New York City great. And they're trying to take it away. And people are seeing it. And that's why they had to bring the lights back. And frankly, that's why Joe Biden is going to lose. Because I believe in the American people. I believe that people, just like, was it Donald who said it in the chat? He basically said, my union leaders are saying this, but the people
rank and file are
saying something
different.
different. They're seeing it. The hypocrisy that we bring up time and time again on this show and on the Crusade channel. The double standards that the elites have versus what you get. Bill de Blasio, he gets to go to the gym, but gym owners can't have a business. They're going bankrupt.
Right.
People, tons of businesses are hurt. Meanwhile, some businesses, nothing is going on.
And the thing is, too,
double standards. They're picking winners and losers.
And the thing is, while all that's going on, then they're going to kick you in the face by taking those lights down on 9/11. They're going to, so it's not bad enough that they're kicking you in the face already. They're going to kick you in the face even more. And why? Because Joe mentioned the key thing. 23 cops get honored every time when we commemorate 9/11 on the anniversary. 23 cops. And as we know from our radical friends, what do we want? Dead cops. When do we want them? Now. That's not me saying it. That's not you saying it. That's the radical saying it. Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. They don't want those lights going up on 9/11. Robert De Niro doesn't want those lights going up on 9/11. Absolutely not. It goes against the narrative. Why? Because you have to honor the memories of 23 cops who died in those buildings. And you can't have that in the current environment, can you?
Well,
it's horrible.
That's why we have to vote these people out. We have to keep the Senate. We have to take back the Congress. And we have to vote Donald Trump into office. And the message is this: Barack Obama, because it's your ticket. It's not Joe Biden's ticket. We're not interested in your positions.
Right.
You don't believe in this country. You believe in a twisted American idea. A twisted American idea that robs common people of their position, power, and upward mobility. It cements your power, and we're not buying it. We have to push this back, and we do that by voting. We simply vote them out. We vote them into oblivion.
That's right.
And that is what we must do. It's that simple. And when people come up with these cockamamie ideas, rattle off facts.
Joe, what's our favorite word to say to the left? No. I don't have to explain myself. They don't want to debate anything. Every time you want to have a legit debate, they're like, oh, well, no, we don't have to debate. Good. Well, we're not going to debate either. We don't want this. We don't want mail-in ballots. Well, why not? No. The answer is no. I do want to address one thing before we go. Briefly, XR says, I have no problem believing that Obama is behind all the nonsense you mentioned, but what's the proof for your claims? Proof and inference, obviously, XR are two different things. We are inferring from Obama's, the way people have looked to him since 2008. You've had people call him Lord and Savior. We're going by his own words in his book, okay, about what he thinks about America. His own words during the campaign about fundamentally transforming America. The fact that 70% of the American people were against Obamacare and he didn't care, okay. Everything going on now smacks of Obama. Now, can I offer you proof that he's behind all this? No.
Actually,
but you can make a fair inference that he is.
Well, this is why I would infer that he is. He chose Tom Perez, who was his housing secretary, to be the head of the DNC. I am absolutely positively sure of it. Can I prove it? No. But Tom Perez, with Barack Obama's consulting, they're pulling the strings behind this ticket. And I'm also positively sure of another thing, that Barack Obama tried to influence the 2016 election because he knew that Donald Trump was going to erase his legacy and has done a pretty good job of it thus far. And if he wins the second term, Barack Obama knows that history will not remember a single solitary thing that he did other than that he was the first black president.
Right.
So he is doing everything in his power to get Donald Trump thrown out. Now, I believe that that will come out if Donald Trump is elected through the AG Bill Barr, that he was involved. That's why I want him in jail. Also, in fairness, it is an inference, but it is Tom Perez, who Barack Obama put in, who is pulling the strings for the Democratic Party. Mm-hmm. And if you ask me, I don't think Joe Biden has it upstairs to basically lay these chips down.
And that one, you just really just have to look at the guy. And I'm not being partisan here. Just look at the guy. Look at the way he speaks. Look at his lethargy. Okay, when he moves, his eyes go all over the place. He is not all there. We said this what, a year and a half ago when we were doing a show? Said this guy won't last 6 months. He won't last 6 months. They'll declare him. This is when, yes, XR, Barack Obama makes the phone call to Joe Biden and says, Joe, it's Kamala's time. All right, you got to back down. And he's going to go and say, I cannot fulfill my duties as president of the United States because I'm deficient or I'm incapacitated. And they're going to love it. And he's going to resign. And Kamala Harris is going to be president of the United States. My mistake. Joe thought it was going to be Harris. By the way, I forgot. I didn't give you credit for that. Joe's been saying the whole time, I was wrong. He was right. Okay. Joe said it would be Kamala Harris. You did say that going back a while now, at least a year. And I said it would be Pete Buttigieg.
Well, Pete Buttigieg will be involved in the administration if Biden wins. There's no question.
They all are. They all are.
I mean, that's another reason. People, please.
Ugh.
This is one of the worst tickets I have ever seen.
Yep.
It's a disgrace.
And all us good people have to go out there and vote against this disgraceful ticket. And that's what it is. Put pressure. Just like the people put pressure because of 9/11 and the lights going up, okay? And the museum had to back down, and the lights will go up on September 11th, 2020, okay? In about another month or so, or another few weeks, because of pressure. The best pressure that we can put on them is to vote against them.
I agree.
Period. So we want to thank you all for joining us at the front line with Joe and Joe. Joe Pasillo and Joe Rossinello. Please, please, please make this video go viral. Why not? Share it with all your friends. Share it in groups, okay? And please tell your friends about us, and like and subscribe and share on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and hit the little bell if you're watching the video. And anywhere we're seeing you. Of course, we appreciate all your support, all your prayers. GoFundMe has a campaign. Support the front line with Joe and Joe. You could drop in a couple bucks if you like. And remember, till next time, that our conversation, that's your conversation. And that conversation, it's going on everywhere. We'll see you next week.